Hello again, everybody. It's nice to see you again. In Philippians 3:9, Paul said he wanted to be found in him, not having a righteousness of his own through the law, but that which was through faith in Christ, the righteousness that is by faith in God. Today I had this revelation. It might seem a bit daft to you that it is a revelation or that it was a revelation, but the revelation was, I have no righteousness of my own, not one bit. I was asking myself some questions. Questions like, what kind of things am I struggling with in terms of this theme of my righteousness in Christ? And what things come more naturally in terms of righteousness? And why do those things appear to become more natural? That it's easier to walk in righteousness in those things? What makes the difference? It's like there's certain things I seem to need God's help with more, that I need him to be closer. And then there are other things which I don't seem to need God's help as much in, that I don't seem to find as difficult, perhaps as other people do. I guess an example of that could be chocolate. I adore chocolate, and I do probably eat more than is good for me. But when I make a decision to not be eating chocolate for health reasons, I find that I can do that quite easily. I'm not saying I'm not tempted, because I certainly do get tempted. And then the next time I go to the supermarket, I ask myself, why do I put myself through not having chocolate at home, where it's there for the taking? But nevertheless, once I've made the decision, I stick to it, and I can survive. But even though I may not struggle with the temptation of chocolate, and I may appear to be walking in righteousness where that is concerned, what I do struggle with is my attitude towards people who are not disciplined when it comes to things like chocolate. I can very easily look down on those people in my heart, even if I don't show it, because I feel as though if I can do it, then surely they can do it too. Another area of gifting, I suppose, natural gifting perhaps, I'm not sure. All gifting is of God anyway. But I have a natural gift to teach, and I have imparted knowledge to hundreds of people on various subjects in my life. I have this ability to rehash what I've learned and then to deliver it out in my own way. And I've run a business on this thing, and also I've been able to impart knowledge to people just generally, and have blessed people in that way, and I thank God for that. But the only trouble with this natural gifting is that it can tend to draw me away from God, because I don't need him in it. It seems as though I can do it without his help. The Bible does say that knowledge puffs up, and having knowledge in that way can very easily draw you away from the head, which is Christ. And it's so very easy to put knowledge above love. And when you do that, then it is certainly unrighteous. I can so very easily put down in my heart people that don't have knowledge. And I can also equally be threatened by those who appear to have more knowledge than I do. So there's two sticking points for me: chocolate and knowledge. What are your sticking points? What are those things that you feel as though come naturally to you and you don't struggle with in life? And how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel that those things are righteousnesses of your own gifts, your own abilities? Or can we attribute them to God, regardless of our own abilities? What are the downsides of those same things that you don't struggle with? What is the flip side? So I'm definitely beginning to see that none of this righteousness comes naturally. None at all. Any of the things that I might think come naturally, they don't. They come from God. Any of my natural righteousness, or the things I think is a natural righteousness, is not at all. I'm already righteous in Christ, but I have to sink into that in the new man. I cannot boast of any righteousness of my own, like Paul. It is of faith. If you read Philippians chapter 3, you can see the list of credentials that Paul gave as to why he should be considered righteous. All his abilities, even his heritage, a Hebrew of Hebrews, a Pharisee, according to the law, blameless. But he did say that when all those things were lifted up in the face of Christ, they were garbage, dung, or worse, in the face of the righteousness of Christ. What I'm doing at the moment, this program of getting understanding of my righteousness in him, this lengthy study or exploration of what all that means, so that it's not head knowledge, it's more heart knowledge. It's something that I live by because I've built it into my subconscious, so that it becomes automated in my thinking and even in my speech. But it becomes part of my person. It's the engrafted word into my soul. But you know what? It's not the righteousness that will be automated in my life, because that can't happen, because it's not mine. But it will be the revelation of the righteousness that will be automated. So what can be done with this so-called natural righteousness, or the abilities or the ways of being able to do things that appear to be natural, like resisting chocolate? What can be done with these things? How can we learn to see that even though they are easy for us, that they are actually still a gift from God? Well, I think one of the signs that they aren't actually righteousness in us is when there's no love attached to them. So I don't love people when I condemn them in my heart for not being as disciplined as I am. And I don't love people when I'm putting my knowledge and what I know above them in any way. Love is the sign that it is righteousness of Christ and not my own righteousness. Because I do have a righteousness of my own, but it's self-righteousness. And it's not exactly the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. It is totally unrighteous to be self-righteous. Righteousness by faith should culminate in a depth of knowledge of Him. Why is that? Because when you live by His righteousness alone, it means you have to relate to Him in it. And in doing so, you develop that wonderful knowledge of Him, because you're relying upon Him. You're seeing that anything that you can do, any abilities that you have, you only have them because of Him, and because He's graced you with them as a person, and that He wants you to use them for His sake and not just for your own. So I cannot claim any natural righteousness. That was a revelation to me. I have to admit, I never saw it coming. I started asking myself these questions about natural righteousness, not even realising when I was asking those questions that natural righteousness it doesn't cut it. It's self-righteousness. It's sin. And then I didn't realise that even the self-righteousness of those things, which I feel are natural to me, they're not, because they're all in God. But it's all good stuff, because that's what this programme is all about. It's about getting a deeper understanding, a deeper wisdom and knowledge of all this stuff. It's getting to the deep stuff. And the deep stuff will always point us to a person, never to a theology, never to a concept, always to the person of Jesus Christ. That's what makes it different to religion, because we're not doing stuff in order to get to heaven. We're just relating to the person who came down from heaven to get to us. So thanks for listening, everybody. And I'll leave you with this thought. What are those things that you think are righteous in you? I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that you're self-righteous, but you've heard what I said, and sometimes our natural abilities can make us imagine that we're righteous without Christ, and that these things come naturally to us. So that's your task for today, is to think through those things and to dwell on them and to maybe talk to God about them. And hopefully going forward, we'll all be a little bit more trusting in the righteousness of Christ. See you next time.